Let's take a look at money management. My money management is a bit different than that of other forex traders, I'm certain, for several reasons. But let's take a look first. I think my money management is unconventional but functional. So what I do is that for each $1,000 in my account, I trade a pip value of $1, which is typically a lot size of around 0.1. So if you trade the Euro USD, then it will be exactly 0.1, and for the other pairs you will have to do your own calculation, but we want to calculate this value before we start trading, of course, so we only have to open and close our trades. We never take stops above 30 pips, so we never risk above 3%. And at $2,000, then we increase to a pip value of $2, at $10,000 a pip value of $10, at $100,000 a pip value of $100, and so on. We stop trading at minus 50 pips for a day, and realistically speaking, we can make 50 plus pips per day, watching around 10 instruments. Most people say you shouldn't focus on pips, but that is exactly what people in the futures market, for example, are doing. So why this approach and not percentage? Well, as I said, it is derived from futures. The value of a contract is fixed in futures. You can only choose to trade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contracts each time, increasing the value of a tick. However, the minimum value of a contract cannot be lessened, so there are no decimals, and there are certain advantages to this and disadvantages. The disadvantage is, of course, that if you take a trade with a 5 pips risk and you make 15 pips on it, you would have made, for example, 3R, so 3 times your initial risk, which at 1% risk would be 3%. But at the same time, our time factor is a huge problem in day trading. So while we calculate our position size, our trade can potentially take off for us. I know there are little helpers like expert advisors or some trading softwares will do it for you, but I have gotten so used to it from futures that I simply follow this approach and it works perfectly for me. Especially because we have peace of mind, our highest possible initial risk of 3% will get less and less. Because we trade a pip value of $1 per $1,000 in our account, and we don't increase that value until we hit $2,000, for example. So only when you are at $1,000 account balance, you will be risking at maximum 3%. And then once your bankroll increases to 1,500 and so on, this number will get less and less and less. So the more you get into the grind, the less you will risk automatically. That is a great way of focusing on what is important, making the best possible trades. And then when you reach $2,000, there is a critical phase, because then you up the risk again to a maximum of 3%. And for example, if you're at $2,000, you drop $100, then you go back to the $1 pip value and you grind back up to 2,000 and so on. This is also similar to poker, actually, where I learned bankroll management, and I'm just so comfortable with this approach that the percentage-based approach to trading has always been a problem for me psychologically, because trading the same amount of money on every trade, I'm not used to this, because I'm used to decreasing risk the higher my bankroll becomes, and then short times of increased risk when I move up a level. You can choose to do this differently if you want. You can choose to take trades with a stop loss of higher than 30 pips if you want. Just realize that you should always have at least 1-to-1 risk reward ratio until the next support or resistance line. That is entirely up to you. This is how I do it. It works perfectly for me. Make up your mind.